Hey, we're live.
We are live. Get excited, everybody. No, this is not a UFC People's Pre-Fight Show. It is the People's Pre-Fight Show where Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. Look at those two guys. Look at the faces. They are ready to go. And they're going to box for a scheduled 10 rounds, but who the hell knows if it goes that far. I'm just here for it all, Jose. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. How are you, my friend? What a World Series game last night.
Yeah, I'm obviously, me and you are diehard Red Sox fans who grew up in New England, but I've lived in Arizona for the better part of the last 12 years, 10 years in downtown Phoenix within walking distance of the stadium, and then obviously 2 years in LA, which made me hate the Dodgers even more. But, I've become like an adopted Diamondbacks fan. I've spent a decade here. I think I've been to 30, 40 games this year, home games. Oddly enough, I saw them play in LA. I think it was them. I went to Dodgers opening day because that was the same weekend as WrestleMania, and I was there. And I think it was LA versus, I think it was Dodgers D-backs, which obviously the Dodgers won, but D-backs won when it counted.
That's right. Well, we're here. We're getting you ready for Fury versus Ngannou. There's other boxing bouts that will also be taking place on the card, which actually kicks off at the top of the hour on ESPN Plus pay-per-view. And I don't know if you guys saw this already on the YouTube channel, but look, we understand that you spend enough money on UFC pay-per-views, and they're all the same. They're $80 plus applicable taxes depending on where you are. If you don't want to spend $80 to watch this one fight, we're going to have you covered. Jose and I are going to go live right after the co-main event, whenever that is, and we're going to tell you what's going to happen. And if you're actually ordering the pay-per-view and you're not fans of the commentary, Jose and I will hop on and we'll watch the fight together. So we're going to have a little bonus watch party for this one fight.
Who is the commentary team?
That is a wonderful question.
That's my first question. Yeah, they're populating right now.
Let's see. I know we did something about it. Hold on. Fury, Ngannou.
While Mike looks that up, I'm collecting questions. So
there we go. Full fight card broadcast team. As for the broadcast team, ESPN announced that Joe Tessitore will handle the play-by-play. He'll be joined by Timothy Bradley Jr., Bernardo Osuna, and our friend Brett Okamoto. That's going to be your broadcast team.
I believe Brett is going to be the backstage interviewer.
Okay, yep.
So we got that. He's on site. He's posting some cool backstage
Joe
stuff on his Instagram.
Yeah, Tessitore, Bradley Jr., Osuna, and then Brett will be a part of the broadcast as well.
Correct.
So, all right, let's get after it.
Questions. So we've had, let me, there's a lot of the same question. I'm sure you know what it is, even though we answered it on the preview show yesterday.
When does the main card start?
This is the most asked question so far. Usually, but they're all like, when does it start in India? When does it start in Chicago? When does it start here? So just tell the people.
All right, 2 p.m. Eastern is when the main card starts. So 30, no matter where you are around the world watching this, 30 minutes from right now, the main card starts. That's when everything will kick off. There will be, I believe, 5 main card fights. I think there's fights actually going on as we speak, like preliminary bouts. There'll be 4 fights and then Fury and Ngannou. As of right now, tentatively, Ngannou and Fury are tentatively scheduled to walk at 5:40 p.m. Eastern time. That's like what they're hoping for.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Speaking of that, I don't know if you've seen any of this. Did you see this?
I haven't seen it yet. No, because it says, because I ordered it obviously, and I'm looking at the thing, and it says it's already live, and all they're giving us is, hey, it starts at 2.
So here's what I was told, but this was like a couple of weeks ago, so I don't. If my information is outdated, I apologize. But apparently, there's fights like outside, like in an outside kind of venue thing, and then the main event, maybe the main and co-main, are going to be inside in that giant arena. So it's like separated. I don't know if that's still accurate, but that was what was told to me a couple like a couple weeks ago, which is why I don't know if anyone has seen on social media. For anyone on site, I know like Oscar Willis of the Mac Life is there, Junkie's there, ESPN's there, a couple other guys. I think Red Corner MMA is there. There's posting these photos. Apparently the ring is going to be like risen from the floor. It's going to be a whole thing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So this is like, it's like Lollapalooza for boxing.
Yes.
There's like the little stage and then the main stage. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's true, but that is what I was told several weeks ago. You guys are asking a lot of the same questions. Yeah, so someone just said, confirmed, yeah, Jose is right, prelims outside, main event inside. So that's probably why there's no big crazy thing happening inside right now. Okay. Also, guys, we'll answer some MMA questions because they're just throwing some random stuff out. Here we go. Just a comment. The first part you can respond to.
I feel close to zero hype for this fight, to be honest. Just looking forward to some highlights, post-fight shows, etc. Look, I think a lot of people feel that way, and that's kind of how the idea came to me last night. I was like, let's just do like a watch along. Like, let's just do something where we just watch, because not everyone's going to want to spend $80 on this because of that. And we talked about this on the preview show yesterday as well. I just feel like, especially with the Misfits boxing thing, they were kind of left on an island. Like, I don't know how they could have made this interesting unless Tyson Fury just showed up like he was 340 pounds and sloppy and drunk. Like any other way, there's really no, or unless like Tyson Fury slapped Francis in the face at the ceremonial weigh-ins or something. But they're not going to do that. So
it's very interesting because I don't think we'll ever get this ever again. This type of fight. Well, we'll obviously get crossover stuff because as long as the influencer boxing, the Misfits boxing is a thing, that will happen. You know, Jorge Masvidal is teasing he's going to boxing. I'm sure there's a lot of other guys like Anthony Pettis will probably want to go to boxing, but I can't think of any other two fighters in boxing and MMA that are the reigning lineal champions fighting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like, the lineal middleweight champion is, what, Sean Strickland? Like, who's he going to go fight in box? Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, John Jones or the Yuri Prohaska, Alex Perez not going to go over and box the lineal, like, cruiserweight champion of the world. It's just not going to happen. So this is... I get the zero hype thing, but this does feel a lot different than the May Max and the Tyron Woodleys and the Ben Askrens and the Anderson Silvas, because this is Tyson Fury. Like, he's the one that ended the Klitschko reign of terror. He should be the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, and I think he eventually will be the first undisputed heavyweight champion since Lennox Lewis. Because if he gets through Francis, he fights Usyk, and I don't know about you, but I'm picking Tyson Fury to win that, especially against an injured Alexander Usyk. This is an anomaly. I don't think we're going to get this ever again, but if it does happen, it will be years from now.
Yeah. This is like the one time, including like the Jake Paul fights, where it just doesn't seem like there's any doubt. Like, people just kind of understand what's going to happen here. Even with Jake Paul, Ben Askren, there were people who thought Ben was going to win that fight. There were people who thought Tyron Woodley was going to win. There were certainly people who thought Anderson Silva was going to win, and there were certainly people who thought Nate Diaz could win. But this is totally different. And there were so many people who thought Conor could do it against Floyd Mayweather. Like, so many people thought that this was a possibility, that this could happen. Oh, Floyd can't fight a southpaw. Oh, Conor's not a boxer. He's a fighter. Floyd's never fought a fighter before. Like, all these different narratives that came into that fight that had people questioning whether or not Floyd Mayweather was going to lose his first professional boxing fight to Conor McGregor. Mm-hmm. This one, we're just kind of like, okay, we sort of understand what's going to happen. Maybe Francis wins a couple of rounds. Maybe he lands a big shot. Maybe there's a knockdown, which would be insane. But I think we all sort of understand what we're going to see at the end. Tyson Fury getting his hand raised. They announced the Usyk fight. They announced the date. They announced everything else. And that's it. And we just have to enjoy this for what it is. It's a spectacle.
It reminds me, and I use this term relatively, like, did you watch Canelo versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.?
I did not.
So that was Cinco de Mayo, like 2016, 2017. I can't remember the exact weekend, but it was just like the Triple G fight was there, and it was like, just get through. It was so obvious what was going to happen that they had Triple G's entrance and music queued up. So the fight ended, and then they were like, bring him out, and then like they had it ready to go.
Yeah.
And then they brought Triple G out to face off with Canelo. It feels like that, and Usyk is there, so you never know. Golly.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
In your honest opinions, do you feel Ngannou stands a chance in this fight? Fury's probably the best boxer in history, and how much would a humbling loss impact Ngannou's career? So, I mean, there's some things to kind of poke holes at, but what chances are you giving Ngannou here? Is this? I don't know. This has been a weird year. Yeah, I'm probably right around the same. I'm not gonna say 0% chance because you never know. Tyson Fury could like slip and fall or tweak a knee or something weird could happen. But yeah, I would say like 5% at his best. And then the other half of the question, Jose, how much? Like if he just goes out and gets run tomorrow, or later on today, Francis just gets clubbed around, goes to the PFL. I was surprised to hear Shaheen and Jed both say that it's a win, that this is a win-win for Francis no matter what. If he just goes out there and just gets trucked today, it's okay. He made a bag of money. He's going to go to the bank and cash the check, and then he's going to go fight MMA, and all will be well. Do you agree with that? Do you feel that if Francis just gets clubbed around today, like it's no big deal, and the MMA community is just going to be happy for him because he made a big bag of money today?
I mean, there's definitely people that are just happy for him in general. I think that's mostly fellow fighters are happy. Does he have any? Like, I think the interest in his next fight, because the thing is, like, when Jake Paul lost to Tommy Fury, everyone said, like, oh, there goes the interest. Like, is there going to be any interest in his next fight? There was, because it was Nate Diaz, and Nate Diaz was what made it interesting. Who in the PFL is Francis is if Francis gets mopped by Tyson Fury, who in the PFL is going to generate interest? Does that make sense? There's not really anyone, because the story wasn't Jake Paul trying to, get back in the win column. It was Jake Paul is fighting Nathan Diaz. Outside of Francis fighting a prime Fedor or like Brock Lesnar coming out of retirement, there's no one really in the PFL that will generate the interest of erasing the last image, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's going to have to fight. He's going to have to fight a name people know. He can't fight like Jorgen De Castro. No offense to Jorgen, fellow New Englander, but like he's going to have to fight like a Verdum or
unless Bellator,
unless
Ryan Bader hops over. But even then,
how much interest will be in that fight?
I agree.
The fight, like honestly, like for me, if this whole PFL Bellator deal comes together, the fight and maybe this isn't the fight you make right away. I think you just got to get Francis in there with a name first and just let him do his thing and get a win. I got to tell you, Francis Ngannou versus Vadim Nemkov sounds pretty fun to me because Nemkov has already said he wants to go up to heavyweight. He feels like he's done everything at 205 anyways. And there's really not much for him to do in the PFL at 205. Him and Ngannou would be really interesting. So, but you can't do that right away. It's not going to sell anything right off the bat.
Yeah, there are heavyweights that I wish, like the Overeem rematch would have been fun in PFL, away from USADA. Tyron Spong would have been fun if it was like a, MMA maybe. The JDS rematch, I thought the Verdum JDS bare knuckle MMA fight would have been, if they had billed that as like a number one contender fight to fight Francis in the PFL, I thought that would have been a lot of fun. Obviously it didn't happen, but outside of fighting John Jones and anyone like, Stipe trilogy, I can't think of, or someone did say it should have been Derek Lewis, but Derek Lewis resigned.
After like 36 hours, it was so weird. Ugh. But I mean, UFC must have given him like a huge
100%.
Is it exhibition or for real? So I honestly don't know, but I saw reports from boxing people that usually deliver accurate news that it is a real fight, that it is going to be a professional fight, and that because there wasn't a BoxRec page for this fight at all.
Nope.
But apparently there is one now. But I don't know if that's true. I guess there is. I don't know. But it seems like it's going to be. Seems like it's gonna be, but I don't.
It'll be fun. It will be a fun fight.
Fury has been dropped. Francis sleeps people. I have no doubt Francis gets the W. Matt W., let me just tell you something right now. This world will be a magical land if that happens. It would be the wildest shit I've ever seen if Francis Ngannou wins this fight. If he goes out there and sleeps Tyson Fury today, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I have no idea how I'm going to react. The watch party will be legendary if this happens.
I don't see a world where that happens. I can't even imagine that. The only way I think it happens is like, because Tyson Fury has essentially fought the heaviest hitters outside of like George Foreman in like the history of history of heavyweight boxing. And he's not only been he's been dropped, but he's gotten up famously against Deontay Wilder. Shout out Esther Lynn, who won awards for those photos.
Yeah, man.
The only way I see that, like, boxing math is silly because you can be like, oh, this guy survived this person's punch, he should be able to survive this person's punch. So I'm not saying that. I just don't see a world where Francis is just because Francis you've seen the slow-mo punches against Jairzinho. You can't do that against Tyson Fury. No. And honestly, like, it's strange because if you watch that replay, Jairzinho did everything right. Like, he rolled with the punches, he was doing all this. Didn't matter. Technique didn't matter in a heavyweight MMA. He got touched once and died. I don't think that Francis is going to do that to Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury has been. There's a GIF I posted like I think a couple years ago of like Deontay Wilder punched Tyson Fury like right on the forehead, and there's a slow motion of it, and there is a visible ripple that goes through his entire body.
Oh my god!
Like from the top of his head to his feet, like there's a shockwave, and Tyson was like, "Whoa!" and then just kept fighting. Now, how much that caught up is a thing because, you know, like we always say like, oh, it's going to catch up to Max Holloway. It's going to catch up to Justin Gaethje. It caught up to the Korean Zombie. So Andre Arlovski is pretty much the anomaly. His chin just got better as he got older. So if his chin is still there, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Let me ask you this as you pull up the next question. What do you think Francis is going to do? Do you think he's going to come out like real aggressive and try to just land the big shot, like not chase Jairzinho, not like cartoon running at him and just winging punches, but do you think he's gonna try to just throw big shots and just try to get him out of there, or do you think he's gonna box?
I think he's gonna try. I think he's gonna start out trying to box, and then he's eventually gonna fall into the like swinging wildly because you can't blitz in against Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is incredibly accurate, and he'll find your chin. I think he's gonna start off smart. And then Tyson is going to win, and then Francis. I'm not saying he's going to get frustrated, but he's just going to, you know, you can't out-train bad habits in like 6 months, in like 6 weeks or whatever. So I just think, and I'm not saying Francis is a bad boxer. I just think Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight boxer on planet Earth, which brings me to my next question.
True or false? Francis has a better chance to beat Fury than Usyk does because Fury is taking this fight lightly and would never underestimate Usyk like that. So there's this narrative, like, I kind of thought the same thing for a hot minute, that Tyson wasn't taking this seriously. But then I actually thought the interview with Ariel was kind of eye-opening to me, that he was taking it seriously. And then the other question I had was like, what's he going to look like on weigh-in day? Is he going to look like he's 295 pounds? Is he going to look out of shape? No, he looks like Tyson Fury before he fought Deontay Wilder. Like, he looks in fine shape. So I feel like he is taking this seriously because, if he loses this fight, it's just so bad for him. So it's almost like he may not be taking this as seriously as like an Usyk fight, but he's certainly taking it seriously. So I don't think he's taking this lightly at all.
When the person you're fighting is in the Guinness Book of World Records for the hardest recorded punch in human history, you can't take that. You cannot take that lightly. So I believe Tyson Fury when he says he treated this fight like any other fight and took it very seriously. Usyk is also, I think Usyk would be a bigger problem. He's shorter. He's a cruiserweight that went up. So he's just, if you saw them hugging, like, he's a short dude. He's like, I think 6'2", 6'1", but he is an astounding boxer. That would be a chess match more than a fight. That's the fight I want to see the most.
Yep. You guys think Fury will just use this as a sparring session for the Usyk fight, or will he go for the KO?
I think he'll go for the KO.
Yeah, me too. Usyk's got to be there, so I wouldn't count Francis out so fast. The man has so much power. He worked the mines in Africa. If you could do that, you could pretty much do anything. Don't forget, not long ago, Stylebender came at Poatan and knocked him up. But this is totally different, though. This is totally different. Look, I'm telling you, if Francis wins, it will probably be like the coolest thing I've ever seen. It would really be one of the coolest things I've ever seen if Francis Ngannou wins this fight. I just don't see a world where it happens. I hope I'm wrong.
I personally don't care who wins.
Yeah.
Full transparency. I just hope it's. I just hope we get a fun spectacle. I just love silliness.
Yeah, exactly. It would just be the reaction to it all, the content that would come out of a Francis Ngannou win.
I hate that word so much.
Oh my gosh. If Francis actually KOs Fury in the match, do you believe the UFC would ask Francis to return for a mega fight with John Jones or co-promote it with the PFL? I don't either.
The ESPN thing with PFL and UFC would be super interesting because they could actually do it, but I just don't think it will happen.
Yeah, Dana won't do it.
No. Interesting question, though, if for a hypothetical world if Francis wins.
How many, like, MMA fights for Francis?
I would just say fights in general. Because he's not a young fighter.
I mean, God, man. I mean, he probably should just be done. Like, he knocks out Tyson Fury, just like, take the bag and go. But then the rematch would be just ginormous, and that's just an even bigger bag of money. And then if Fury wins, they'd probably do it again, and that's like another big bag of money.
I truly think Francis, like Tyson will fight Usyk next, regardless of the outcome. I understand what MMA people think that they're just gonna. That's just not how boxing works.
Right.
You got mandatories and you got all this stuff. I know what Shaheen was trying to say, but that's just not how it works. Like Triple G and Canelo fought people between them. You know, Canelo's fought other people between. Like, why didn't we get the Bivol rematch between Canelo? Because it's not MMA. It's just not how it works. I think Fury will fight Usyk, and if Francis Ngannou wins. If Francis Ngannou wins, I think he'll fight the winner of Usyk and Tyson Fury for all of the belts, and then that fight would be even bigger.
Oh my God, man! Wow. Yeah, and then like, if Francis wins, does he fight in MMA ever again?
Yes, I think so. Especially because the PFL seems pretty interested in using him as like, they want to break ground in Africa. And, you know, he's like that ambassador type individual that was like part of his contract when he came over. I think
but he could still be that and not fight.
I think he would want to fight in Africa, and I think him headlining a UFC PFL Africa card would be enormous for the sport as a whole because representation matters, and people in Africa want to see their own fight.
Fair.
I
actually think he fights in MMA as well because I also, no matter what the outcome is and the money he could generate boxing the winner of Fury Usyk, which is insane to even say into a live microphone.
I know. I agree.
Francis seems like a man of his word. Like if he says he's
100%,
he's gonna do it.
Here is a very interesting question that I had not thought of, and it made me chuckle because it's silly to read, but it's not. It is not a bad question.
If Francis wins, If Francis wins, will he be considered the best boxer in UFC history?
Who said if he beats Tyson Fury? Who says no? If he beats
would Sean Woodson agree with that? That's the big question, Jose.
If Francis Ngannou beats Tyson Fury in boxing, 100%. He has to be. By default.
Who's gonna trump that? Oh, it's Max Holloway. No, it's this guy.
Nope, sorry, bro. Francis Ngannou knocked out the lineal heavyweight and WBC and Ring Magazine champion. Like, come on, bro. And now he might fight for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. Yeah. That guy. Yeah. That guy's the best boxer in the world. All right.
God, that's an incredible question. Fury should just try to knock out Ngannou out ASAP instead of dragging out the fight and make him look bad if he lets Nag and Noi get into the late rounds. I get it. I don't think the over under right now, Jose, is 5.5 rounds. That's where it's at.
Under 5.5? Yeah, that makes sense.
It's over. I think Yeah, I think when it was yesterday, the over under was set for five and a half. Do you think we get to round 6?
No, no, I do not.
Okay.
I am interested because boxing is 3-minute rounds, obviously, so it's a sprint at times. I'm curious if that is because France is used to fighting 5 rounds, a 5-minute 5 rounds. I'm curious if that will be a benefit or a detraction from Francis's game plan, because he doesn't have to, he can go crazy for 3 minutes, or is he just, used to not stepping on the gas till the 2-minute mark?
Yep, still at 5.5. Over 5.5, minus 135, under 5.5, plus 100. So it's pretty close.
A lot of people say, yeah, Francis knocks out Tyson Fury, then yeah, he's the best boxer in UFC history.
I honestly didn't think about that. That is a tremendous question. I think Fury will carry Francis and show mercy and not KO him.
I don't think he's gonna carry him. Because people like the thing that bothers me about the Fury the Fury Usyk announcement, because now that we have a date. Like, because Tyson Fury's been cut bad in fights. If he gets a bad cut, he's not boxing December 23rd. So I think I'm not saying he's going to play it safe, but if he has the opportunity to end this fight early and get out unscathed, then yeah, he's going to take it. Here's an interesting one.
Fury's known to use his weight while clinching to drain his opponents. Steve Francis having the advantage in that area of grappling. So, a really great piece from Teddy Atlas on ESPN talking about this fight. It was Teddy basically wrote, if I was training Francis Ngannou, like, this is what I would tell him to do, and this is how I would prepare him. We took some snippets for something that I wrote up, which dropped, I think, earlier today on MMA Fighting, but he basically said, like, Ngannou is going to have a lot of success in the clinch. He feels like Ngannou's MMA experience will actually help him in this matter. And then basically he needs to use that clinch to kind of wear on Fury to try to frustrate him, so Fury can't get him at distance. And he thinks like that's basically how Ngannou's going to have all of his success. And if Fury starts to drag, it get a little reckless, then Ngannou can kind of just sit back and counter and land a big shot. But again, that's asking a whole lot from a guy who is boxing the best heavyweight in the world right now in most people's eyes, to just be that guy and clinch him, and then have the wherewithal in like rounds 6, 7, and 8 to be like, all right, now just sit back and wait for Tyson to come to you and land a counter punch. That's smart game. I mean, it's smart to think about, but to be that
Francis Ngannou, the counter puncher.
Yeah, he's just gonna sit back and wait for Tyson. Do you agree with Teddy that if this gets kind of ugly and they start clinching a lot and we get inside and we have those moments, it's not going to be like KSI, Tommy Fury, obviously, but that Francis can have success in that to try to frustrate Tyson and maybe even kind of wear on him a little bit?
No. I think Tyson Fury, I love Teddy Atlas so much, so I will take his word for it. But Tyson Fury is like, have you ever carried like a bag of sand?
Yes.
It's like, it's difficult. It's harder. It's oftentimes harder to carry than, a thing of bricks, because of the consistency. Fighting Tyson Fury is like fighting a violent bag of soup. Like, it's just, sloshing around. It's difficult to get a hold of. He'll weigh on you. It's slippery. I do think Tyson Fury will clinch up quite a bit. There's no cage to lean on. You can't throw knees in the clinch. I think the clinch is not where Francis wants to be.
I love this quote from Teddy Atlas. The last thing I wrote in that article, quote, "Punchers are born, they are not made. And Ngannou can punch. He can take your lights out. If he can put his hands on the chin of Fury, he can hurt him. There's no doubt about it." But yeah, basically Teddy Atlas is like, look, I know what we're about to see here. Tyson Fury's going to beat Francis Ngannou, but if he doesn't, this is probably why. And I kind of like the thing where it's like a lot of people look at this fight as a money grab, and I think it's a dangerous money grab and more dangerous for the guy who's supposedly going to win easily. Love that. Teddy's a wordsmith. Dude is a wordsmith. That's a great read.
You answered this individual's question, so I'll let you read it out loud, and then you can answer it because you pretty much answered it.
Yeah, it's Francis' best actual chance of winning to do a crazy all-out bum rush. That's the only way I could see him actually catching Tyson. I don't think I don't love that idea. I think he needs to basically be aggressive but box. Like, don't do nothing, but don't rush in at him. It's a weird thing to say. It's such a fancy answer, but I think Francis has to like tap into 2023 Justin Gaethje, where he has to be somewhat reckless but controlled chaos. I think that's his best chance to win this fight. Because as you said, Jose, you running in at Tyson is not going to go well for you. It's going to be bad.
It's an interesting question. I don't know how much you're up to date on your boxing history, but you obviously probably remember this fight because you're a little older than me.
I did. I do remember this fight. If Francis' victory is something similar to Foreman knocking out Michael Moore in 94 in terms of vibes and possible shockwave for the sport. So,
for those of you that don't know, George Foreman obviously was a champion in like 70s, 80s, you know, fought Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier and everything, retired, came back after 10 years, looked fat but different, changed his whole game plan completely, lost to Evander Holyfield in I think 91. If I remember correctly, and then like a couple years later, fought and beat more. I think it was like 10th round TKO, something like that, for the heavyweight championship, one of the heavyweight belts, and it was unbelievable. And then like at the time, it was like, oh, is he gonna rematch Holyfield? Is he gonna fight Mike Tyson? Lennox Lewis is out there, and it just I don't even remember. He didn't fight any of them. He just came out. He fought someone else right after and lost.
Did he fight Tommy Morrison, or am I just imagining that?
I think he was supposed to. He might have, honestly. He might have.
Yeah, I remember this whole thing. Jim Lampley was on the MMA Hour. And
he did it. He did it. Yeah.
Yeah, he did it. He did it. Because Foreman was obviously a broadcaster with Jim on HBO. And Foreman basically told him like how he was going to win. He goes, I'm going to take him in the late rounds. He goes, and I'm eventually going to knock him out. And he did it. It was 46,
something like that.
He was in his mid to upper 40s when he did it. It was like such a crazy moment, but
I don't
know if it was
so. Like, again, I like you taking all of that, like 10 years off, fat, 45, whatever. I would still be more shocked if Francis Ngannou won. That's what I was getting.
100%, 100%.
Anyway,
Buster, this is more probably.
See,
do you not agree with the Buster Douglas comparison?
No, I don't. I still would put Buster Douglas higher. Buster Douglas Mike Tyson was 25 when that fight happened. And he did not take the fight seriously at all. And if you watch people that haven't watched that fight, people think that like it was like a back and forth war and he clipped him. Nah. Buster Douglas is beating that ass. And then that like
got dropped. He did get dropped in like the 8th round.
But because it's Mike Tyson, he'll drop anyone. But like this was like 25-year-old Mike Tyson who was like decapitating people. And then if you remember that like Buster Douglas had, I can't remember if it was South or Orthodox, but that jab where he was like bah, bah, like jab into the hook, and Mike Tyson just had nothing for it. Had absolutely nothing for it. Buster Douglas was still number one because it's why the Strickland fight was so shocking, because he dominated Israel Adesanya. That's more shocking than a flash knockout. Dominating.
That's a great point.
Does that make sense?
That's a great point. Can you imagine if Ngannou just styles on
right? If Francis Ngannou is like, if Francis like rolls and is jabbing uppercut and actually outboxes Tyson Fury and wins a decision like 120 to whatever, that's the biggest upset in the history of anything. But that's just not going to happen. Anyway, one more question. Go ahead.
It was great. Speaking of Jim Lampley, if memory serves me correctly, he said, and I quote, like, goes, Mike Tyson is about to fight in another, like something like this is going to be another 90-second annihilation by Mike Tyson.
Nah.
Crazy.
And then they never rematched.
Nope.
And they never rematched. Buster lost to Evander, and not too soon after retired. All right, one more question, because this individual has asked a few times, not box related, but we'll get your thoughts on it because you were not on the Reaction podcast.
Thoughts on the UFC setting up an interim heavyweight title fight while also postponing Jones versus Stipe for the actual title? When the interim champ just get promoted to champ when John Stipe retire? Yes, that's kind of how I view this.
100%.
The only Here's the one, because we talked to AK and I recorded and on to the next one yesterday, which you'll hear tomorrow when it drops, because we did like a Q&A kind of a thing. The only way I feel that the interim heavyweight title will be defended is if Tom Aspinall wins and the UFC does a pay-per-view in London in March and they ask him to fight on that card in the main event. And he just fights either Jailton Almeida or Derek Lewis in the main event or something. Like whoever wins that fight on Saturday. I think he would fight in London. Other than that, if Sergey wins, he's just gonna wait and see what happens with Jones and Stipe, and then probably just become the actual.
It ain't gonna be London if Tom Aspinall wins. It's gonna be Manchester
or Manchester. If it happens in England,
if
Tom may fight.
If Tom Aspinall wins the interim heavyweight championship, he's too big for the O2 Arena. The O2 Arena is an historic arena, but it's not that big. It's also very difficult. It's like they'd have to. It's like when it's the same arena Bisping fought Dan Henderson. Anyway, I digress. We'll talk about it when it comes up. Anyway, that's all questions.
That's it. We're gonna be back, Jose and I, around. It's like I said, tentatively scheduled for 5:15 p.m. Eastern. As soon as the co-main event of this card is over, we're going live. And if you don't want to spend $80, we're gonna tell you exactly what's gonna happen. There will be New York Rick won't be here, so he won't let us know the finish before it happens, like 20 seconds before, like you did with Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski too. But we'll see you in a few hours, everybody. Pay-per-view getting started right now, and the arena looks crazy. There is no ring, and it looks like the Valor bare knuckle fight pit as of right now. But the ring is going to come through the floor. So thank you all very much, Jose. I'll see you in a few hours, buddy.
Go D-backs. Peace.